Ever noticed a weird connection between a couple of games? Well, sometimes developers just love the story they're trying to tell so much, but can't legally continue telling it a certain way. Or, in some cases, they just really like surprises. A lot of the time these games are spiritual successors, but secretly continue what the developer was trying to do. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on gameranx, 10 games you didn't know were secret sequels. Starting off with number 10, and one that I absolutely love. Control is a secret sequel to Alan Wake. If you've played the Alan Wake DLC to Control, you know. And by the way, I really enjoy how this game connects itself back to Alan Wake. Not just in the DLC, but also little clues that are existing in the regular game as well. Hidden away in the archives, you can find all these notes that mention the Cauldron Lake incident, and even name drop Alan Wake himself. And interestingly enough, Matthew Peretta, the actor that portrayed Alan Wake, actually appears in Control. He's Dr. Darling in this game. And then, like I said, the DLC just goes full on, hey, guess what? This is a shared universe. Alan Wake is part of it, and you actually have to investigate those events, and the Federal Bureau of Control has a bunch of the crap preserved on premises. It's fantastic. Another nice little bonus is Max Payne's voice actor, James McCaffrey, plays the former director of the Federal Bureau of Control, so it ties in a pretty cool way with Max Payne as well, even if not necessarily narratively. But also, who knows? Remedy is pretty epic when it comes to all of this kind of stuff. I love Control, and I love Alan Wake. I can't wait for the next Alan Wake game because I can't wait to find out how it ties in with the Federal Bureau of Control. Honestly, it's all endlessly fun and interesting. At number 9, Nier is a secret sequel to Drakengard, although it may be a little more well-known among Nier fans at this point. But the Drakengard series is where Yoko Taro cut his teeth. Nier Automata, obviously, huge hit, popularized the original Nier, which was kinda in a way passed over because it was a bit of a weird game when it came out. So was Nier Automata, but it was a huge hit. Prior to Nier Automata, it was really hardcore weirdos that liked Yoko Taro, and that's not an insult, keep in mind. That's a definite, good on you guys for recognizing this guy's talent. Drakengard are these dragon-based action games. They got really, really dark themes. Also, the endings lead primarily to tragedy, like the complete destruction of the human race, and Nier is kind of one of those. So, Drakengard's ending E. Yes, he was doing that back then, just so you know. But Drakengard's ending E has the war that is going on in the game spill across dimensions and takes all the fantasy-based heroes in a final battle over the skies of modern-day Tokyo. So Nier takes place in the future of basically our world, right? Not necessarily completely, it's obviously fiction, whatever. Ending E happened in that world, though. The impetus for humanity's destruction was beings from another dimension invading and, well, allegedly almost wiping out humanity. Also, both games feature a main character named Kame. It's insane mythos, but Yoko Taro is also totally insane, and we love him for it. At number 8, Project Snowblind is a secret sequel to Deus Ex. Now, Deus Ex, probably one of the best games of the year 2000. Insert Conan O'Brien bit here. This conspiracy-themed RPG FPS is the inspiration for countless modern gaming trends and has a series of sequels. Project Snowblind is actually a generic shooter that you've probably never heard of, but originally it was a game that was meant to be an additional sequel to be released alongside Deus Ex 2, and you can see the fingerprints everywhere. Now, Project Snowblind isn't an RPG. It's about shooting everything in sight, but you do gain new powers through augmentations, and you have some choice over the method. Will you use stealth or will you go all out? Really, it doesn't matter. The glowing blue nanomachine tubes look straight out of Deus Ex 2. Mechs look similar as well, and the combination of stealth/hacking and the mod problem solving made this an extremely derivative but standout shooter in 2004, almost unique by 2004 standards. This is an example where the developers kind of started trying to make a sequel that developed into something that was not quite a sequel, but is also very obviously rooted in Deus Ex. At number 7, Shadow of the Colossus is a secret sequel to Ica. Now, this one might not be as shocking to fans of the series, but it's also been one that's always fascinated me, and I'll talk about it basically anytime I'm allowed to, so I'm happy that it came up. So Ico was kind of a revelation in game storytelling, and Shadow the Colossus, an obvious spiritual successor, hooked us all over again with these incredible Colossus designs, these really exciting boss, I guess, battles, for lack of a better word. No one really expects it to be a sequel to Ico. It feels like a totally different thing, despite feeling like completely the same thing. I know, very contradictory statement, but whatever. By the end of Shadow Colossus, the connection between these games is impossible to miss, though. Your goal in Shadow of the Colossus is to free an entity called Dorman. By defeating all of the Colossi, you recreate Dorman, this dark being that rampages at the end of the game, revealing that your goals weren't entirely pure. Before escaping, a warrior seals Dorman inside the temple, but the main character's maiden has been revived. As the game ends, the maiden enters a secret garden and discovers an infant with horns. The horns match the horns of the main character in Ico, revealing the game is actually a secret prequel, though the game's director, Fumito Ueda, claimed it was all up to interpretation. And I guess it is, but I'm sorry, it's a prequel. Seems pretty open and shut to me, honestly. At number 6, Marathon is a secret sequel to Pathways into Darkness. The first major game by Bungie was a simple FPS called Pathways into Darkness. In it, you'd explore a dark pyramid and find these strange denizens of a dark god, kind of Cthulhu inspired. So what does it have to do with their much bigger future series, Marathon? Well, Marathon is much closer to what we'd call a modern FPS. Where Pathways was simple, this is more connected and complex, like something like Doom. You'd grab a series of big guns, you'd have a host of strange alien species. Marathon was different from the rest thanks to a really strange story that got only stranger in future installments, over time completely fragmenting into total madness by the time we get to Marathon Infinity. Game stories back then were extremely basic, so getting a lot of special mission text in every mission was jarring and weird. But how are they connected? The Jaro, an alien species, warn Earth of an impending evil being's birth, and is heavily implied to be the dreaming god in Pathways into Darkness, the same evil being that later appears in Marathon 2 and heavily informs the story of the twisted Marathon Infinity. The Jaro are an important alien race that gains a greatly expanded role in Marathon. And then, at number 5, Halo is a secret sequel to Marathon. So Bungie, the developers of Marathon and Halo, don't like letting go of good ideas. Halo is just packed with Marathon references, but references aren't enough to say it's a sequel, right? We need concrete story details, and Halo has tons of those too. Let's list all the in-universe elements shared by both games. Marathon-class space cruisers, an organization with the UESC acronym, aliens that'll accidentally wipe out all life in a galaxy, an AI called Traxxas 4, and a general theme of AI rampancy. Those aren't direct links. You could make the case that they're just reused elements as opposed to in-universe links. So Bungie founder Alex Seropian has kind of a crazy explanation for this stuff. Bungie as a company denies a direct link. However, that ain't it. Seropian has stated that Halo's Master Chief is an alternate universe timeline resurrection of Marathon's hero. That was always his intention, and explains why you find Marathon logos literally everywhere in the game. Considering the timeline weirdness of Marathon Infinity, the story does support a strange alternate future where a faceless cyborg killing machine has to relive in a remixed universe. It's a head trip. At number 4, Code Vein is a secret sequel to God Eater. Code Vein is a vampiric action RPG that's pretty similar to Dark Souls in terms of gameplay, but the story is actually connected to God Eater. God Eater is kind of a post-apocalyptic monster hunter where anime-inspired protagonists punch bizarre demons called Aragami. The Aragami provide the link to both series. Later in Code Vein, it's revealed that your strange city is surrounded by mist. It's protected by the Aragami, ravaging the rest of the world. Both series are set in a ruined Earth by rampaging monsters, Aragami or revenants, and both series are riffs on different sorts of popular gameplay styles. The anime-inspired visuals are another link that goes further beyond the call-out in the story. Like, maybe we'll see a crossover between these B-tier games in the future sometime. A Dark Souls-type Monster Hunter game. I mean, it's not like these genres aren't entirely unrelated anyhow, but it would be cool to see these two franchises in particular linked together. God Eater and Code Vein are both just cool games. At number 3, Mother 3 is a secret sequel to Earthbound/Mother 2. This one kind of breaks the rules a bit. The games are in the same series, and obviously they share an insane amount of similarities. They're both about kids going on a worldwide adventure, both about Americana-infused towns where the heroes have psychic powers and wear striped shirts. There's aliens and Gygus, I think. I've never known how to say Gygus. Gigas, maybe? He's the ultimate evil life form, whatever. He's usually involved. So why didn't we know Mother 3 was actually a secret sequel? Because the ending. The games are never explicitly linked until the conclusion of Mother 3. Throughout the game, you fight these weird invaders called the Pigmask Army. These are stormtroopers that are trying to change the world and change it by creating a massive city. At the top of the final dungeon tower, you encounter the true master of the Pigmask Army. It's Pokey, the annoying antagonist and sidekick to Gygus/Gigas in Earthbound. It's literally the same guy. He's traveled to an alternate dimension, invading other worlds, and he's wasting away inside this strange containment suit that you fought him in during the last battle of Earthbound. It's a surprising twist in a series that's so averse to continuity. And really, like, when you think about it, it wasn't uncommon with series back then. Final Fantasy, for instance, to this day does not make mainline numbered sequels that exist in the same universe. They'll number sequels after the numbered sequels, like Final Fantasy X-2. So it's not really that strange you can consider that's probably the biggest JRPG series, and that's what they've been doing since the very start. But still, it's kind of a shock that Mother 3 is a sequel to Mother 2 directly in such a way. Moving on to number 2, speaking of Final Fantasy, Vagrant Story and Final Fantasy XII are secret sequels to Final Fantasy Tactics. The main numbered entries of Final Fantasy games all have nothing to do with each other. There's obviously the recurring references, item names, general plot elements, the stuff that I mentioned in the last one. Magic, items, the names might be the same, but the world and the story are not a continuation. Except with these 3 games. Final Fantasy Tactics, again, not a mainline game. Vagrant Story, not even technically a Final Fantasy game, however, obviously a Final Fantasy game due to this. All 3 of these games take place on the same world in the same timeline. The world of Ivalice was created by Yasumi Matsuno, and it's a much more dark political world than most of Final Fantasy. It's not just like direct connections, like, yes, we have those, but we even have returning characters. At the start of Vagrant Story, a short quote is shared by in-game writer AJ Durai, who is obviously the narrator of Final Fantasy Tactics. He goes on to write the secret history of events that transpired during that game. His name fully, Aslam Durai. Same character. Goes on. The Grand Grimoire is an important MacGuffin in Vagrant Story and in Final Fantasy Tactics Advance. The continent of Valendia is shared in all of the game maps/histories, and Final Fantasy XII is actually a prequel to Final Fantasy Tactics, where the advanced civilizations of airships have fallen and the godlike beings that once controlled mankind's fate have been defeated. It goes on, but we're talking about a full video's worth of information, and we don't have the time here. And finally, at number 1, Dark Souls is a secret sequel to King's Field. The Dark Folk really want to return the world to a state of true darkness, and honestly, I kind of get it. It's a darkness that's warm and peaceful. Beings of light oppose it, although humanity is described as being born of the dark, and therefore beings that come from the dark. And there's a strange force that's causing our once great kingdom to crumble from within. Vast cities are left to rot and decay. And I'm not talking about Dark Souls, I'm talking about King's Field 4. King's Field is the spiritual predecessor to Demon Souls and Dark Souls, but they share more than just the hardcore dungeon crawling. Most of the connections are directly tied to King's Field 4. Seath the Scaleless, the Moonlight Greatsword, Sen's Fortress, New Londo, and even Nashandra the Abyss Queen are all directly plucked out of King's Field and placed verbatim into Dark Souls 1 and 2. The stories are so similar and the world building is so vague in the Dark Souls series, you could easily say the games are a direct continuation. As we learn in Dark Souls 3, everything is connected. It'll just end up in a massive heap at the end of the world anyways. Dark Souls is about cycles, ages, and the futility of trying to change those cycles. At least that's what I got out of it. I might be wrong. Another cycle that's coming to an end though, this video. If you happen to like it, click the like button and don't forget to leave us a comment. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week. Best way to see them first is of course a subscription, so click subscribe. Don't forget to enable notifications, and as always we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter at Falcon the Hero, and we'll see you next time right here on GameRanx.